So, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be called Broncos hater after this video. I'm pretty sure if I had Broncos fans out there, I might lose them today. But, with all honesty, Broncos fans, everyone out there, I'm not here to piss on your parade. I just see this team in a slightly to moderately less brighter vision than pretty much everybody I hear talking about them. Before you start throwing eggs, please hear me out. In the next hour, I'll try to give you my explanations, and I will be talking about damn good football team. I'm not going to be denying that this team is damn good. But are they what I hear media talking about them, calling coward, predicting them to win this division? And, some have them like top 5 even, Superbowl contenders. I'm not quite there. And hear me out why. I think it kind of starts with last year and the fact that they overcome expectations, and I would say even mine. When I was sitting here last year, I was critical of Bo Nix's pick, but not from the perspective that I don't think Bo Nix is going to work here. It was more about the long term with Bo Nix, and we will get to that. But I was not expecting this team to make playoffs, let's be honest. And I think the fact that they made it, and I would say Sean Payton, as a very popular, let's say, media guy, I think it just glazed the thing too much to my liking. And to give you examples, for example, guys from Bootleg Football podcast that I absolutely love. I love their work, but when they were talking about the Broncos and kind of assigning their power rankings and talking about how good this team was, when you are trying to assign any rankings on a football team based on averages per year, if you have a game like the Broncos had the last one of the season against the Chiefs, and you have this in your analysis, which I understand why they included it, because it's you can say other teams might have meaningless games. I get it. But Broncos won 38-0, playing against backups. And to actually act like this is not something that boosts their number, this is not something that in a 17-game season, this is not NHL, this is not NBA, this is not MLB, this is not season that has super huge amount of games. In a 17-game season, such a game is going to have huge impact on averages. So not to mention it, does not sit right with my analytical mind. Just to give you some perspective of this, their let's say point difference was overall plus 114. Take that game away. So that's over 17 games. That's plus 5, plus 6 even. Yeah, something like plus 6. 17 times 6 is 70, 60, 102. So yeah, it's something of 6.5. But you take that game away, it's just around 80 points different. 38, let me think of this. So 25 plus 13, so it's 387, so it's 76 divided by 6, divided by 16. Now we get to around 4.3. So you see how that one game, changes their average margin, average point difference almost by 2 points. Ask any gambler how much the line changes if you go from 6.5 to 8.5 or something like that. So not to include that. And we are well, it was an NFL game. Was it though? Was it really? I mean, Chiefs have played backups. I'm not blaming them, but in my eyes, they had absolute zero intention of winning that game. I know those guys were trying, but I think they were happy that Bengals didn't make it to the playoffs. And I'm I would exclude this game from any reasonable analysis that I would do on the Broncos season. So that would put the Broncos to 9-7 record in regular season. And then there is one other game that just don't get mentioned. And I know we can go what if on every team in the league. I get it. But the one with the Colts was actually, even in terms of averages and kind of everything, that was a crucial game. And they won it 31-13. And you're like, what are you talking then? Well, start of the second half, Jonathan Taylor is running for a touchdown, untouched. And he does the stupidest thing that a football player can do. He starts to celebrate early. He drops the ball before before the goal line, and it's going fumble through the end zone. So ball goes to the Broncos. At that point, it was 10-7 or 13-7. If they score, Broncos have tough game against them. Like, they were not good prior to this moment, and pretty much after it, the Colts offense just fell apart. Interception, fumble, interception. It was over after that moment. So, I'm not going to say that their record should have been 8-8. And even if I would, it would still be overcoming expectations. So, good job. To me, it's kind of like 8.5 to 7.5. And then against Buffalo in the playoffs, they really did not stand a chance. And that's another thing. This team, just last year, when they were facing playoff opponents, their record in regular season is 2-4. That includes the Chiefs. So if I exclude that game, it's 1-4. At Bills, 1-5. And towards their good, they beat up Buccaneers in week 3. It was like 26-7, like really nice game. Other than that, and against any playoff team, they just lost. And some of those games were beatings. Ravens, Bills. So, coming from that year and acting like, this is like a team that is about to be a contender, I would have to see a lot of off-season moves for that to happen. And they did some, but are they enough? Am I actually as excited as you guys are? Not really. And one more thing, because I'm certain that you are already typing and you are not happy with me. So I might just throw one more into this. I just looked at Russell Wilson's stats in 2023 compared to Bo Nix's stats in 2024. Russell played 15 games, had around 3.1k yards through the air, and I think it was 26 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Pretty good. Bo Nix last year, 3.8, 29 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, playing all 17 games in regular season. In terms of PFF grade, Russell was like 77.5, Bo was around 76.5. I'm not saying you have no reason to not like Russell Wilson. Like, you drafted you traded your future for him, you've given him a really nice amount of money, and he was there to deliver you a championship. But he didn't. So I understand you don't like him. But to act like he was absolutely terrible and it was all on him, I think it's very short-sighted. Nathaniel Hackett, that's bad. Like, the worst head coaching job I have ever seen. Truly horrific. And then with Sean Payton, in a mismatch, kind of, that everybody, these two guys do not align. In a season that pretty much at the half point of it, it was GM and the owner, and it was you have to take a pay cut, otherwise we will cut you after the year. Despite them being kind of in the playoff hunt. And in that scenario where you have a coach that doesn't actually align with your strengths, and he's a great head coach, but with Russell, that was trying to melt ice and water together. It was always really, really going to struggle to mesh those two guys, how they want to approach this. And you put that drama on top of it, you even bench his ass for the last 2 weeks, and he still was not bad. Actually, I gave you numbers to suggest that he was as good as Bo Nix was last year. And this is no shade to Bo Nix. I'm just saying that the thing that I do believe that there is some misconception about okay, everything that was bad we left behind. Russell Wilson was a huge part of it. He's gone. Now it's Bo Nix. He's the prince that's going to take us to the promised land. And like in year one, he was already by far better than Russell Wilson. I don't think that's true. And I think numbers do back me up. I'm not saying the offense was most pleasant to watch with Russell. I don't think it was at times with Bo. This team is defense driven. This defense is special. So, I don't want to piss on your parade. I think this is a team that's going to be there fighting for the playoff spot. But do I think they are Super Bowl contenders? Do I think they have enough to win this division this year? I don't. So let's go and take a look at the roster, and we will start as usual with the draft. And if you have not hated me prior to this, I'm pretty sure we are going to get there through the video, though it's not like my intention. I think it's going to happen because I'm just lower on some of the things that you have done in the offseason. And it starts with these first two picks. Jahdae Barron, to me, little bit early, but he should have decent start next to his name, and the same goes for RJ Harvey. This was kind of, I feel like in the heat of the moment, I'm not sure, like when I was like taking my draft analysis to make it what I think about these guys towards how they should start in terms of my grades in NFL. I felt like the grades that I've assigned to them were like a little bit in my mind when I assigned them just good backups. To me, both of them are low-end, decent starters. So let's get that out of the window. But what I don't like about Jahdae Barron, and it's like I don't hate it, I'm just not the biggest fan, is I really feel like in Jaquan McMillan, Pat Surtain, and Riley Moss, I like it. I like this group. So spending the first round pick to try to improve what is already good strength, or like great strength, like because you obviously have Pat Surtain and he's as of right now the best corner in the league. Do you need to do it? I wasn't sure, and I'm not like looking at Jahdae Barron and as this certified like put him opposite to Pat Surtain and he's going to be another lockdown and just good effing luck. I think he's more of a nickel, where I really liked Jaquan McMillan last year. So that was kind of one part of the critical, because in terms of, I had him as like late first round pick. So in terms of spot, it's okay. The second criticism that I have about this pick was, I think Broncos, and they kind of proved me right with RJ Harvey, but it's not like super hard to prove me right in the case that, well, they needed a running back, right? And when you look at the situation of the draft, there was Omarion Hampton on the board. And I was like, this would have been really, really nice pick for the Broncos. A, I really believe he would suit them. B, I think he was nice value at that point, not like fine value, not necessarily like a steal. But C, there was an absolute certainty that after you did not take him, he's going to fall to the lap of the Chargers, which if I were a Broncos fan, I would be scared of that. I really think he's going to make you regret not taking him because I think he's going to be tremendous for the Steelers. So not taking Omarion Hampton here, instead investing to what already is pretty good room with a lot of potential in those young guys, I do have questions about that. And then we go to RJ Harvey, and this is just way too freaking early for me. He was in the cluster of running backs that, in regular draft, third round, feels right for them. In this draft, fourth or fifth round, I think you could get a guy of similar talent to RJ Harvey. Is he a potentially super nice weapon as receiving back? Potentially, yes. As a clean rusher of the ball, and a feature back of this team, I do have my questions about that. And when I don't think he's necessarily the complex guy that you can build this offense around to a degree, is he worth second round pick in this deep of a draft? I did struggle to see that. again, like with grading this a D, I'm sure I'm going to, like, I'm putting my neck out because Sean Payton handpicked this guy. They spent a huge asset on him. In the running back class, that some would argue that similar level of running back prospects were taken in the 7th round. Damian Martinez, for example. Like, I'm not saying they are like super similar as players, but I've seen several mock drafts or tiers where RJ Harvey and Damian Martinez were in the same tier. And for one, you spent 2nd round, for another 7th. And I feel like it's not like the Damian Martinez fall because of some off-field issues, at least to my knowledge, but this was freaking deep running back class. So in my eyes, either pick Ashton Jeanty or Marion Hampton, those two guys that even in this draft, like stood out to me as running backs. Or Christian Judkins, Travion Henderson, different flavors, but like these two guys were like number 1, number 2, and then there were number 3s for my tiers. Or don't spend 2nd round here. Like, it was just too early for me. Could you have gotten him 101 when you took Savion Jones? I think there's a good chance. And if not, I feel like there were a lot of other guys that you could get and go with. But he's handpicked by Sean Payton because there is not necessarily too much competition in his backfield. He's going to get every chance to shine. So I will probably be proven wrong, and he's going to be a good player for them. I would still not make this call. And just to give you guys example what you could have had, it's like, okay, would you take Charlie Barron and RJ Harvey or Omarion Hampton and in the 2nd round, if we go the same route, so I want running back and I want corner. So after RJ Harvey, one pick after him, Trey Amos. Wouldn't you like Omarion Hampton and Trey Amos more? I would definitely. If we wanted to talk about like converted safety, more 3 safety packages towards the nickel, like big nickel, Andrew Mukuba. Kevin Winston, of course, like you have to heard me talk about Kevin Winston a lot. Like Darren Porter, as like if his production from those like 700 snaps matches what he's going to do in the NFL, imagine having Darren Porter on the other side of Pat Surtain. And like I would actually really like Darren Porter here because he has like super high upside, and if he doesn't hit, you still have Jaquan McMillan and Riley Moss there, so you are kind of safe there. So I would get this bet. There was also like Shavon Revel. I mean, you guys let me know, but I just feel like those 2 picks, given the needs that they had, I would have gone with Omarion Hampton. I could understand Charlie Barron, but with RJ Harvey, it was just too freaking early for me. We'll see how this will age. In terms of the rest of the draft, I think it was solid. Again, I did not see any special steal. I like Pat Bryant as a guy that could be a mismatch problem if you want him outside with Cortland Sutton and with Evan Ingram. Kind of a backup for Cortland Sutton, as he had some issues in terms of durability, but like really good player, fine pick. Same goes with Savion Jones. With Quay Robinson, a little bit early for me, but I get it. This team is just like a blueprint for, well, we might not have the top 5 guys of, let's say, like compare this team to 49ers, let's say, three years ago, where like it's so freaking top heavy. So if you just stack the guys against each other, 49ers out of 6 or 7 best players could have 5, because like, well, there is still Pat Surtain and Quinn Miners on this team. So perhaps out of top 10, 49ers could have had 7 or 8. But in terms of if we go 10 to 30, then it's like the Broncos would have dominated that list. And that's kind of the thing, that the rotation, the depth, that's something that Denver is doing supremely well. And I believe those guys are going to be part of the really nice defensive line rotation, where it's not about the top end talent, where you don't necessarily have your Max Crosby's and Myles Garrett's of the world, but you have guys that are just pain in the ass, and combine them and they are creating really, really nice defensive line. Caleb Lohner, I did not have him like a draftable, but he's kind of fun. Former basketball player, project. We will see what gets there. Overall, definitely not one of my favorite drafts. Just like first 2 picks, I would totally make it differently, and I'm sticking my neck out. If RJ Harvey is a hit, then I will look like an idiot. We will see. Also, it might be Omarion Hampton just runs the league wide open and this division, and RJ Harvey is just a normal running back, and then we're like, well, it would be nice to have Omarion. So with this draft, how does this set up their roster for next year? So we start with, well, definitely one of the strengths of this team. Offensive line is nasty. Starts with Garrett Bowles, who is top 3 in terms of pass protection. In terms of run blocking, there is some weeks where he just doesn't look really great. So he's kind of average to above average there. It makes him borderline top 10 left tackle, and definitely a guy that if I had an amazing starter next to him, I would not look back. Like, he's really on the top of the important starter list. And the guy that you are not worried about beside the age and potential injury worries that do come with him, and slight grabbiness, like 16 penalties. This kind of reminiscent of his early days with Broncos. But as your left tackle and franchise guy, yeah, like, you are pretty happy to have Garrett Bowles. Next to him, Ben Powers, absolute steady Eddie of this offensive line, guy that played a ton, is really, really solid. And like I said, with previous one with Raiders and Dylan Parham, like, if this is your 4th best guy on your offensive line, that's kind of his natural spot, and sign that your offensive line is really good. Well, he is the 4th best offensive lineman, at least in my eyes, for this O-line. Low end, good starter. Next to him, Luke Wattenberg, a huge surprise to me last year. The position of center was definitely a question, and another reminder, it's like, you better believe if Sean Payton is like looking like, well, there is a problem with a position with a unit, and he's like absolutely cool about it, he's probably going to be right, because I questioned starting Luke Wattenberg last year, and they were like, well, we trust him, and he was absolutely good. Decent starter might not be as high as other people will see Luke Wattenberg. To me, it's just like 1 year, 28, can he repeat? Then he can start to climb, and perhaps the climb could be towards even low-end important starter, but definitely towards an average NFL center, which is like very, very nice for this guy. And we'll see like what his market is going to be after this year, when he is going to be finishing with his rookie deal, which is kind of crazy given that he is 28. But that's your Luke Wattenberg here. Now, next to him, one of the top 5 guards in the league in Quinn Miners, and a guy that probably has everything lined up to elevate towards elite starter and actually make a claim for the best guard, almost undisputed wise in terms of NFL, because he gets better every single year. Yet another awesome season from Quinn Miners, and dude, like, they jumped with extension on him, signed like last of season, I believe, and 4 years, 72 million for Quinn Miners. I think if he plays on that deal his entire time, this is going to be one of the best deals in football. This dude is freaking amazing, and yeah, he's just an absolute stud. Next to him, Mike McGlinchey, another like very steady option, better than Ben Powers, and you can definitely call him franchise right tackle. I'm slightly lower on him than I've kind of seen him ranked, or like I think consensus, where like, given my ratings, he would probably be more important starter for some, but I think he's kind of mid to high level of good starter, kind of top 15-ish in terms of right tackles, and definitely a guy that you do not worry about. Is he perhaps too much compensated? 23 millions. I mean, that's tackle market. I think it's fine price, slightly too much, but fine. And when you look at this is damn good offensive line. Top 10, I think, is on the wall, and there is potential to be better. Like Luke Wattenberg, I think in my eyes can improve, and the same goes with Quinn Miners. For the other guys, it's more like stay what you are, and we are fine. Stay healthy. Perhaps Garrett Bowles, one more season like this, age 33, I will put him towards an amazing starter. Now, in terms of backups, before we go to Bo Nix, and I will lose the last of the Broncos fans that might still be watching. In terms of backups, I'm not listing their other backup next to Alex Forsythe, who is kind of the interior guy, more of a center. So in terms of guards, they might struggle to find a replacement within the team. Now, with tackles, Alex Palczewski or Matt Baird are interesting options that, like the drop-off is significant, but they both showed some intrigue when they needed to step in last year, and they did not look absolutely lost on the field. So it's kind of, I would say, 6 to 8 deep with questions like who is going to be your guard if Ben Powers or Quinn Miners are injured, and in terms of Matt Pearl and Alex Polchevsky, like where it flash in the pants, are they really good swing tackles? Needs to be slightly proven in my eyes, but I think like a solid depth behind a really, really great O-line. And now Bo Nix conversation. And if you come here and think like, well, he's going to regret like having not shit on this draft pick, but have major reservation about this pick, no, because I told you guys last year, I think Bo Nix is going to play good. I don't think he's going to be bad at all. And I was not panicking after week 1. I was not panicking after week 2. To the contrast, like I had friends that are Broncos fans. I hope I still have them as friends, truth to be told. And they were like, oh, this is not looking good after like week 1 against Seattle. And he had a bad game. And I was like, I'm not worried. I truly believe like he is a really nice fit for Sean Payton, a really nice fit for this offense, and he's going to figure it out. And as years progressed, he figured it out. The one question that I still have and had with this draft is he the guy that in division with Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert has what it takes to take you towards winning this division, towards playoff games that you feel like you don't have clearly the second best QB in the league. And that's tough, yeah? Obviously, when you have these two guys against you. And that was kind of my criticism of Bo Nix, because I feel like his ceiling is an important starter. And I don't think differently about that after year 1, because I think he comes with really nice floor, as really experienced guy that played the most snaps, I think, in terms of college, like has a lot of records because, yeah, he played a ton at college. And I don't think he has necessarily the physical tools to become an amazing starter. If he can really become Drew Brees here to like 70% with Sean Payton in his year, yeah, then I would be wrong. He will become an amazing starter and a guy that you absolutely feel good about paying, and you think that he can lead you towards winning this division and potential Super Bowls. Where I questioned was, is there that upside? And I still don't think it is, or like I would not say it's over 50%. And with that being said, I was like, well, the timeline for this team on Bo Nix rookie deal is actually murky because of Russell Wilson and the dead cap money that are going to be there for 25. There are some, I think, even for 26 with perhaps other players. It's like already 2 years of where, like, if you think the guy has, let's say, lower upside but really nice floor, you are almost wasting 2 of the really nice years of his career with those dead cap hits. So I question whether they are in position with a lot of draft picks that they did not have because of Russell Wilson trade, a lot of money they don't have because of that, to put a great enough cast around Bo Nix that if he is 15, 14 best QB in the league, that the cast around him can elevate this team where Bo Nix is vital part of it, but not a guy that you stand on his shoulders or like he's running on front. Like he's there, but perhaps in the second line, like you have your Pat Surtain and Quinn Miners on the forefront, like dragging this team or carrying it to the victories. And like I question whether the team has enough drafts and enough, like, because like they had to spend first round for Sean Payton, like enough, let's say, fundamentals in terms of how many players they already have there, how much like they can improve them with the restriction that Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, and all of these things from the past are still slightly haunting you. So I question that, and here I stand. In this, I might be corrected, because it really seems like Denver is going to be able to put championship roster together next to Bo Nix within his rookie deal. I feel like I did not see that necessarily happening. It seems like Broncos GM Sean Payton are absolutely delivering on this front. Like, a lot of progress from young guys last year, a lot of like really nice scheming. The question is, like, will they be able to keep Vance Joseph, or he's going to get a head coaching job? That might be something that could slightly break this apart, but definitely in terms of how this team is progressing, it's ahead of the schedule. And that means they could be able to really have, I would say, 2 or even 3 years of Bo Nix rookie deal, when like there is strong enough roster around him that you can compete with the Chiefs, with the Chargers, and with the rest of the AFC. So that's my credit towards Bo. I will credit him as well, because as much as, you know, like I was throwing the numbers that are like kind of comparable to Russell Wilson from previous year, I have to credit him in several categories. Like, yeah, I thought he would be working, but it was still not a gimme. Like, it's not easy to just step into Sean Payton's offense. Like, credit where credit is due. Now, they try to ease it up on him, but still, like, it's Sean Payton. He's going to demand it. And as weeks progressed, you could see him demanding it much more, and Bo Nix actually delivering. When the play was not here, he took on, he ran, he scrambled, and made a couple of nice plays. So the match is really nice. He is going to give you what's there, and if Sean is right with his play goal, Bo Nix is going to deliver. If not, he will try to scramble and get you some plays like that. He was really nice at it. So credit to where credit is due. Bo Nix had a really good season, but, you know, not necessarily towards the degree that I would be talking about him as like top 10 quarterback in the league. Right now, I think he's around 20, like 17 to 20 best, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the upside for me is around that 13 spot. So, you know, can he overcome this expectation? Then you would call me and hear me like, yeah, I was freaking wrong. And the second credit which I have to need and take and give Bo is he stood and did not let the like Twitter shitstorm or X shitstorm that happened after week 1 or even after week 2 just to bug him here. Like, he was poised and composed and he overcame, which, you know, like, I felt like the amount of negativity that was upon him after week 1 was just nasty. So huge credit to Bo that he was able to just stay level-headed and just, you know, well, it's going to happen. I had bad game. Let's go and overcome it. And I think like week 3 against the Bucs, one of the most impressive games that this team had overall, it was the start for Bo Nix, and he never looked back and looked absolutely solid for the rest of the year. Now, in terms of guys that he will have at his disposal, not only to protect him, but to deliver him some yards that he perhaps not going to deliver within his likes. With his likes, not within. Now, like I said, RJ Harvey, decent starter, not a good backup. In terms of guys that he have at his disposal, Cortland Sutton, prolonged in this offseason. Is he your number 1 clear guy? No. Can you live with Cortland Sutton as your 1? Yes, you can. I really like Cortland. I would prefer him as my 2, as my big X wide receiver, but here he's 1. He's delivering on it as good as he can. In the last 2 years, he clearly is getting much better quarterback play. He's delivering in terms of production, and I think absolutely deserved contract extension for him, and a guy that you are not worried about. Now, with the rest of the team and rest of the weapons, there is nice potential, but also some questions. So Evan Ingram, nice signing, though it's not like a slam dunk because it was pricey in this offseason. In theory, he's perfect weapon next to Cortland Sutton, guy that even though he's listed as a tight end, does not do much of a blocking, so he's kind of more of a big slot or guy on the perimeter. and definitely one that you feel like, well, Sean Payton just getting hands on this guy, he just could not wait. A lot of comparison to Jimmy Graham, and I get it. So the question is with him, health. Can he stay healthy? Because that has been a problem for Evan Ingram throughout his career. If he will, he's going to have a big year. I think 1,000 yards are definitely not out of question for Evan. The question is, can he stay healthy? Because if so, then I do not have to worry about this room, because these two guys as your primary weapon are absolutely fine. Then you have RJ Harvey as your threat from backfield, where like he could have more receiving yards almost than rushing if they really lean into J.K. Dobbins, and I'm absolutely right about him not necessarily being the feature back, and perhaps J.K. Dobbins being that for at least for this year. But like with J.K., we know unfortunately that he's probably going to get injured, which is sad. He might have like similar amount of production from the air as on the ground. He is a nice weapon for that. And then with the rest of these guys, like Devon Valley, though, like I think his spot is going to get occupied by Evan Ingram quite a lot. So not super happy about like perhaps not necessarily seeing him on the field, because I think he deserves it. He was really nice last year. Marvin Mims, absolutely like electrifying receiver. Like, he can juke you on the spot. Nice weapon, complementary guy to what you don't necessarily have in Cortland Sutton, who's much more of a big contested target guy. That like, yeah, you throw a ball somewhere in his area, he's going to come down with it. In Marvin, it's like he has sure hands, but it's more like he's going to create separation for those hands to be secure. With Troy Franklin, I was a little bit disappointed for him year one, because I thought like this was a slam down pick for them, and yeah, also sorry Devon Valley, this is not your picture. I mean, sometimes it happens, I'm sorry. Like I do my graphics and everything alone, so sometimes those mishaps happen. Sorry Devon. It's Troy Franklin on both the pictures. But back to Troy, I was disappointed in his year, truth to be told, because I felt like with him having the connection with Bo Nix, he would be a really nice weapon for them year one. And he just wasn't. He like dropped several things that I think he shouldn't have. They looked off, off timing way too often for my liking. In terms of, I thought that is going to be a sure thing. So I wonder, in Troy Franklin's case, what is going to like be his future, where it like is a potential to emerge as like a number two, which I thought he might. Right now, I think much more of a just rotational role specific player. And then you have Pat Bryant, who I should have been listing on the first one, because I feel like he should emerge as this team wide receiver number 3, like, or weapon number 3 even, behind Evan Ingram and Cortland Sutton. He has the mold of Cortland Sutton. He perhaps does not look as big as you would imagine, but he plays big. I would say he absolutely plays big. He's tough. And when you look at this, it's not like every single guy is stunning you or making you go, wow. But you are already like 7 deep. Then you have Adam Troutman, who's like kind of your blocking specialist tight end here. Also there's Trent Shanfield, A.T. Perry. You have Nate Atkins, Lucas Crew. Like, they are sort of 13, 14 deep, and it's kind of Sean Payton's offense. Like, do you necessarily need the biggest stars, or is it all about like having the right personnel on the field at the right times, and perhaps investing your resources towards other areas of the field, especially the lines? I think that's kind of the blueprint, and for what it's worth, I think it doesn't look on paper as necessarily spectacular amount of weapons or like spectacular quality of weapons, but the depth is really nice and different skill set is really nice, and there is enough high-end talent that I like this group. I'm not saying it's above average. I think it's slightly below, but it's definitely good enough for not stopping you what you need to do. Now, in terms of running backs, as actual runners of the ball, I have my questions. And one of the questions with even drafting RJ Harvey was like, I kind of like Charlie McLaughlin. I think like he perhaps, doesn't have as much of a potential as RJ Harvey to really be this electric threat. A lot of people say lightning to your thunder, and both these guys are more of a lightning, and they are kind of missing that top end thunder, which like they tried J.K. Dobbins to be that. We'll see. Because of his injury limitations, you have Audrey Estimate to back him up in that role. So they are for deep, but I don't necessarily see a feature back in either one of these guys. So running back by committee, similar what they had last year, like better, but not by a significant amount. And I feel like you just could have it Omar Hampton, John McLaughlin, and Audrey Estima, and this group would be freaking amazing, and or potentially freaking amazing. So again, I might die on this hill with not liking pick of RJ Harvey, but just to reiterate one of the points, RJ, if by any chance you are watching this, I wish you nothing but the best. I wish you will make me a fool. I wish that I will be totally wrong. I don't wish you nothing but the best for you as a player, as a human being. I have not heard anything bad about you that would deny me rooting for you. So make me a fool. I wish it too. It's just like, this is my analytical view of that pick. If you are fourth round, nothing against that. So, my aim is not to make you feel bad at all. I'm rooting for you. Now, in terms of backups, Jared Stidham, kind of, why not? I think he can stand up and give you chance in a game or two if Bo Nix go down. But if he goes down, obviously there is going to be a problem. Though, now it would be a big problem. Yeah. So this was Denver's offense. Interesting group, good group with question marks that I have. Predominantly about the running backs and mostly about did you miss the chance for your run game to be hugely elevated? Now let's go towards the defense that was widely recognized as one of the best defenses last year, to some even the best defense. And hell yeah, this is fun group. Now it starts with defensive line. Like I said, you don't have your one superstar. But at the same time, you have 4 and actually 5 really good players. You have potential superstar, I think, in Nick Bonito, who at the second part of last year, he looked freaking awesome. If he can repeat that, he's going to climb up in my rankings pretty nicely and pretty soon. So, watching you, Nick Bonito, your production and your speed has not come unnoticed. Of course, he's quite down one-dimensional. He's great pass rusher, but in terms of run defense, it's not necessarily great. So he's probably kept from being the true elite guy. The only guy that I think it has let's say average run defense and is considered an elite by my standard is Trey Hendrickson. Can he be Trey Hendrickson? I don't necessarily think so, but don't think I have not noticed you. Nick, excellent. Let's go for more. And I think it's definitely with him. Next to him might be your kind of best guy, but at the same time, underestimated guy to some, because some guys will look at 14 sacks as an interior guy and it's going to overrate him based on this stuff. Some guys will be like, well, the product was not great if you not great, not special when you consider he played 1,000 freaking snaps. Who plays that as an interior guy? And then there is, I think, a third group, which I would consider myself, is this dude played freaking 1,000 snaps. How do you do it? What a freaking stamina from Zach Allen. And I don't almost give a shit about per snap basis, because he's able to deliver you crucial plays and is out there every single snap almost. For defensive tackle to do this is just freaking nice. So absolutely deserved contract extension that he got. And I would even say 4 years, 100 million. To a degree, it even feels like a value deal for the Broncos, because is he 25 million of a pass rusher? No. Is he 25 million of a run defender? No. But is he kind of a unicorn in terms of like, he's able to give you his 90% of him every single time, and when you compare it to, let's say, some other guys can play 70% of the snaps, and it's still damn good. But like the drop off from them to the next guy is just much bigger than if you average that guy, it's 90% of Zach Allen always better than 100% of a guy on 70% of the snaps and 30% of his backup. That's what makes Zach Allen absolutely special. So, for some people, this was too much. I think it's absolutely okay, and it might even prove to be value. I'm a huge fan of what this guy can do, because he, to me, is a freaking unicorn. Like, how is he able to do this and still be productive as he is? It's just beyond me. Next to him, John Myers, and I was critical of this from the Jazz last year. I was liking the signing, and he's proving to be just an absolute value deal for these guys. Special pass rusher from the interior, can give you some of the run defense, but he's not necessarily out there for it. He's kind of, I guess, your number one in terms of pass rushing ability right now. But I think Nick Bonito will have a really strong case very, very soon. Really nice piece. Between those guys, you have DJ Jones, who I like. When you look me C- for this guy in terms of contract, I'm like, I think he's a good player, or like top of the decent starter, and I do understand that like his stats might not look the sexy because he's most of the time just taking on double teams and doing the dirty work for you. So I like the one and only thing why this was slight overpay for me and like worthy of like slightly above average grade was, I feel like in this draft there were a lot of potential guys that you could plug in. Also 26 guaranteed is quite a lot, and he's not youngest. He's 30. Slight overpaid in my eyes. Potentially with like the upcoming draft, I was like, well, you still have really nice pieces around him. Could you replace him? But at the same time, like, it's super hard to replace DJ Jones. So I stopped up on this deal and would actually be a C+ right now, because I definitely saw much more how much he just makes this defensive line what it is, and how it would be really freaking hard to replace him. So I've softened over the film. I definitely softened up on this extension. So good money for DJ Jones, and absolute vital part of this defensive line. On the other side, Jonathan Cooper, who, like, we talk about guy that had 13 sacks as a guy like, yeah, he's kind of there for perhaps 5, and a good player. Nice number 3 weapon for most of the teams out there. In here, he's your 4, and you are absolutely freaking happy for Jonathan Cooper out there. And the amount of money you are spending on him is absolutely fine. It's like 4 years, 60 million, so 15 million a year for Jonathan Cooper. Fine deal. Is it necessarily super value? No, but those are the guys that, like, when you are establishing this roster around Bo Nix, these are the type of deals that are going to make it possible to really establish Superbowl potential winning roster with Bo Nix on his rookie deal. Like, if Bo Nix is paid 50 millions, you don't have money for guys like Jonathan Cooper. Now, in terms of backups, like I said, this group goes deep. We have Savion Jones, Jonah Ellis. There is still some really nice potential that I see in Jonah Ellis. Can he deliver? You have Malcolm Roach, kind of your veteran backup for DJ Jones. There's Avuzarike. Like, there are some interesting pieces behind these guys. So kind of goes 8 to 9 deep for rotation. Very, very nice group that, again, does not have the game-wrecking guy, but have 2 or 3 guys that working together, they absolutely can recreate that. And like, when you look at Moneyball, it's like, do we have Giambi? No, but we have 3 guys that if you average them together and you look at Giambi and 2, let's say, average players, we might match the production or even be better. So it's kind of the same with like Zach Allen. Like, can he play as much snaps as the other guy? No, but you have to rotate the other guy, but you don't have to rotate almost Zach Allen. So big fan of this defensive line. Now, in terms of linebackers, they lost Cody Barton here and are replacing him with Dre Greenlaw. And I love this signing, Ben. Like, yeah, it's baked in it that he suffered a huge injury in that Super Bowl, tried to come back last year, was not really going for him, so he shut it down. There was some like other injury, but he's now 1.5 years away from this. He's still just like 28 or something like that, and I have no trouble believing that he is going to be this team number 1 linebacker and could emerge in that position as top 5 linebacker in the league. Like, he has never kind of been number 1, so that's a slight question because he always had Fred Warner next to him, which is like really nice luxury, and he's come back from the injury. But I like the signing. It's absolutely worthwhile for this amount of money. Hell yeah, sign me up. And next to him, you have Alex Singleton, who also went down last year. Spent almost the entire year on IR, only 160 snaps, but he's kind of your fallback. Absolutely nice option that if Dragunov is out, he's like that number 1 starter for most of the teams out there. That's just good enough. He's a good player, not difference maker, but you can absolutely live with just a good player as even your number 1 linebacker in pretty much every setup in the league, because that's just where we are with talent pool of linebackers. And now he gets to be your 2 behind Dragunov or next to him. So really excited about this group. Can it be difference making group? Yes. As of right now, it would be around top 10 with some questions about the health, because both of these guys played 200 snaps or 300 snaps combined last year. And like after them, Justin Sternat, solid enough backup, nothing more. They also, who they have listed there, Levante Bailey, Drew Sanders. Given the injury history on these guys, I would probably like to snatch up some veteran linebacker on the market to just be sure. But if healthy, this is definitely a great room. So one room that I might be like, well, don't you miss a little bit of a backup? Perhaps, but I think it's absolutely fine. Now, let's take a look at the secondary, which I think is one of the best secondaries in the league. And it obviously starts with Pat Surtain winning Defensive Player of the Year, establishing himself as the best corner, and perhaps hearing out some guys like me, for example. It's like, well, there is Sauce, and then there are other guys, like Pat would be my number 2 even prior to last year. And the fact that I didn't even make him like 1B, maybe that pissed him off. Not necessarily certain that Pat watches my videos, probably not. Just kidding, of course he doesn't. But like he has the crown. Like Sauce had down year, Pat had freaking amazing one, and he is clearly number 1 corner right now in the league. I don't think that it's debatable. He's freaking awesome, and the longevity of him, in terms of like he's been like this every single goddamn year. It was like just Sauce for those 2 years that he was in the league. Like he played on even more unreal level. And like Pat was like, yeah, I can match this level, and I've been on exceptional level ever since I entered the league. With Sauce, like he had those ungodly numbers, and then he is like really good last year, great, but really short of special. So Pat is your number 1, and yeah, good luck throwing at Pat Surtain. Good luck. You probably should not be doing that. And now, who is the guy opposite to Pat Surtain? Right now, it's set up to be Riley Moss, who I think was solid in this job. And when I was thinking about, for example, if you have not seen my Behind the GMIs video about how I absolutely love Travis Hunter within the Patriots organization as the number 2 next to Christian Gonzalez, in terms of perimeter guy, like I would be absolutely looking at outside corners if I was about to improve or try to improve the secondary. And that's why like Jalen Brown pick, like he can play outside, but I think he's more predominantly nickel or like a slot. And here I'm like, well, I like Riley Moss, but at the same time I felt like Jaquan McMillan was better, and think he is, let's say, more talented or potentially better player than Riley Moss is going to be. Like he has more going for him, though the pedigree is like third rounder versus undrafted guy, so perhaps they see it differently. So you kind of replace Jaquan McMillan rather than Riley Moss, and I kind of have a trouble with that. So I think you would have been absolutely fine with going with Riley and Jaquan, and if one guy was the one I would be targeting to replace, it would be more Riley than Jaquan. It seems like as of right now it's more Jaquan, though based on the ESPN depth chart, he's actually fending off Jahdae Barron from the starting job. So we will see how this shake up. Nevertheless, you are at least 4 corners deep. You also have Damari Mathis. You are absolutely fine. And like pretty much every other team is going to envy you this corner room. And if Jahdae Barron is what they think he is and will succeed in his potential, and if he can even play outside towards like number 2 to Pat Surtain, good effing luck. Good effing luck. And you put on top that this team has really impactful safety duo with Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga. As of right now, I definitely think Brandon Jones is actually a better player than Talanoa Hufanga. With Hufanga, it's like when we were able to see him, he was really good, but he just cannot stay healthy. It's, again, absolutely baked in his contract, because if he was a healthy guy, this would not be the numbers you would see on his paycheck. But can he stay healthy? It's been proven quite hard for him in the last couple of years. He's also like used to really play hard, throw his body at you, and like with injuries, they do stockpile much quicker if you play like this. Now, if that would be something happening to Talanoa Hufanga, you still have PJ Locke as his backup, which I think is a fine backup, but I do understand why they absolutely went out and tried to improve on this position with signing on Talanoa. And it's absolutely like right approach. Like, even though he's injury prone, if he's not out there, we can absolutely survive with PJ Locke next to all of the other guys that we have in the secondary. If he's out there, we just elevated what was already one of the best secondaries in the league, if not the best. Damari Mathis, when he played, looked good. A lot of nice backups here. So you go absolutely 8 deep, and that's not something that pretty much any secondary can say. And you have a top-end talent. And Pat Surtain, Brandon Jones, and hopefully Talanoa Hufanga, and potentially, for example, Jahdae Barron. So, I mean, this defense, it doesn't have weaknesses. Like, unless kind of all of the injury-prone guys are going to get injured, then you have to go deeper than you would perhaps like to. Then you might start to talk about, well, this was too high risk approach. But at the same time, like on the paper, with every guy's looking healthy right now, this is a special defense, and one that's definitely going to be, once again, challenging for one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league. I have no doubt about that. So where does this leave the Denver Broncos? And originally, when I was putting this together, I have them finishing 9-8. Like I said, in last road to Superbowl, with Christian Wilkins' release and Jack Jones being cut from the Raiders that I have missed, I would probably lower Raiders 1 win away, and it would go to the Broncos here. So if you ask me right now, it would be 10-7. So you can imagine it like this. But this is how I originally thought of this, and it's like it changes this slightly because I feel like Raiders are slightly less good, and they would be probably a team that I do predict you beating perhaps twice rather than 1-1 that I had them originally. Now, what are the storylines? Well, the first one is good luck, Cam Ward. First game in your NFL career, you are going against Pat Surtain. Oh my god. And I'm just excited to see Pat Surtain, perhaps, week 1 Cam Ward, week 2 Daniel Jones. Pat Surtain might look absolutely amazing in those games. Then, he might have his fun first 2 weeks, but then it's Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Now we're talking some struggles. Predicting them 3-3 might seem disrespectful, but I think Chargers are really tough out, Eagles are really tough out, and between Colts, Bengals, Jets, and Titans, I think you will drop at least a game. So I actually do believe they will not start as strong as you would like to. Now, with the second part of the year, my question is, do you believe? Is he the guy that's going to elevate this team? Or is he just the guy that is going to be really good for you? That's the question. I am somewhere in the middle and more leaning towards, I think he's going to be really good for you, but not going to elevate you towards like a tier 2, what tier 2 guys or tier 1 guys are doing. But at the same time, he might just enter tier 3 at this point of the time, which I would be saying like 3-2 in this schedule. I'm absolutely fine with that. Texans are tough out on the road. Chiefs, Raiders, Giants, especially the Giants one could be one that if you see on the schedule is like, yeah, Broncos are going to absolutely win this one. It might be a game that Brian Table's job is on the line. You are facing that amazing defensive line, which can, like, if there's a defensive line that can strip you away from one of your biggest weaknesses, which is the offensive line, it could be this week. So that's to me, that's kind of a trap game, and it's not like the other games are easy on this list. So 3-2, absolutely in the hunt. And then I had West is too wild because originally, like I said, 9-8, and I would say like slightly missing the playoffs, perhaps being the eighth team right now. Like it probably is much closer to the 6th or 7th seed with Raiders being worse than they are. But a lot of the teams that they are going to face in this one are coming from the West, and that division is just too freaking nasty. Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and I really had a lot of belief in Raiders. I still do, but I think they are slightly worse than when I was originally writing this. So, you can imagine this 4-2, but even if I do predict them to absolutely beat the Raiders here, still like at Commanders, at home against Packers, at Chiefs, at home against Chargers, it might be with Rashawn Slater injury, which is another part why I feel absolutely better about Broncos' chances to make it to the playoffs. Is Rashawn Slater injury as well? When I was establishing this, Christian Wilkins was a Raider and Rashawn Slater was a Charger for the season, which is he's not going to be because of unfortunate injury. So, they still could be 3-3, and we might actually witness Week 18, Broncos versus Chargers, everything on the line. It would be a really nice television and kind of the preview for you. If is Bo Nix good enough quarterback to elevate you and feel good about in the matchups against, let's say, number 2 guy in this division at Justin Herbert. So really borderline playoff team for me. I don't see a clear one, which a lot of people are talking about the Broncos as such. I don't see it. But, I think overall, this is really damn good team. And I feel like I describe it as such. I'm just not as high. So I hope you can forgive me for that. This is what I see. If there was a Martin Hampton here, I might feel slightly different. I feel like that running game could really be something that you could be missing in terms of really getting the yards that you need to from your feature back consistently. Not because RJ Harvey is going to give you explosive, but the consistency with counting on J.K. Dobbins, I do have problem with that. So Broncos fans, am I a hater? I hope I'm not. I don't count myself as such. Last year I was not a fan of how they approached Russell Wilson's situation, threatening to bench you unless you take a pay cut. I'm still not a fan, but I have nothing against this team. Certainly nothing against Bo, nothing against Sean Payton, and now I wish them nothing but the best. And I'm excited to see this team. I think they are going to be really, really damn good, and some of the matchups they could be really, really special. So let me know in the comments what do you think about this analysis. And see you with the next one, because we are just 2 away, baby. Bye bye.